So now we're doing this question over here, a very complicated looking equation. Now it's actually been broken into two parts. First of all, they want us to show that it simplifies to this expression, and then they're going to ask us to solve that equation, which is quadratic. And because they've told me to round my answer, I know I'm going to either use the quadratic formula or completing the square in order to do this. But let's worry first of all about making progress with the equation. Any equation involving fractions, a good first step is to multiply every term by every denominator that you see. I want to get rid of this divide by 2x plus 11, so I need to times by it. But I have to do that everywhere, otherwise the equation doesn't stay balanced. The same thing goes for the x minus 4. I want to get rid of x minus 4, so I have to multiply by it. And in order for the equation to stay balanced, I have to do that everywhere. And I want to get rid of the 2. The divide by 2 cancels the times by 2 over here, but I have to times by 2 everywhere in order for the equation to stay balanced. So I actually have an awful lot of work to do in that first step, but that's going to get rid of every fraction. Now I follow the instructions that I've created. In the first term, I now have 2 times this bracket. I can choose the order of multiplication, whatever makes most sense to me. I'm going to do 2 times 2 is 4, and leave multiplying out the bracket for the next line, because I'm working hard enough already. Now I have minus 1 times 2 minus 2 times this bracket, 2x plus 11. This is equal to 1 times these two brackets, which of course is just these two brackets multiplied together. Having dealt with the most complex threat to simplicity, which is the fractions, I now want to multiply out my brackets. This is relatively straightforward, but on the left-hand side, we do have a minus sign between our brackets, and it's very common to make mistakes when we're multiplying out those brackets. 4x minus 16. Now over here we have minus 2 times 2x, which is minus 4x, and minus 2 times 11, minus 22. Make sure you keep on following the impact of that minus sign. Over here we have 4 multiplications to do. 2x with x, 2x with minus 4, x with 11, and 11 with minus 4. Altogether that's going to give me 2x squared, minus 8x plus 11x is plus 3x, and then minus 44. At this stage we should be thinking this thing is quadratic. And if I want to solve a quadratic equation, I need to organize it with the x squared term, then the x term, then the number term on one side, and 0 on the other side. So I'm going to tidy up a bit more, but I now have this idea in mind as I do so. On the left-hand side, 4x minus 4x cancels out, and minus 16 minus 22 is minus 38. This is equal to 2x squared plus 3x minus 44. And I want to put my numbers together on the same side as everything else, so I'm going to cart the minus 38 over this way where it becomes a plus 38. That's 2x squared plus 3x, and minus 44 plus 38 is minus 6. That's going to equal 0. I haven't really been focused on this thing they've asked me to get to through this whole procedure. All I've been doing is what I usually want to do. Get rid of the fractions, get rid of the brackets, and then start organizing this equation so I can solve it. And because it's a quadratic equation, I've organized it as x squared x number equals 0. So they've confirmed for me that I've done that right, which is very nice. Now we're asked to solve this equation. They've asked me to round my answers so I know that I can't factorize it. In this case, I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So that is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And in this case, a equals 2, b equals 3, and c equals minus 6. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute all those numbers into the formula. Minus 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times minus 6 divided by 2a, 2 times 2. Notice how when I substituted in the negative number, I put it in brackets. This is very important, especially when you're using this formula, and especially when the value of b is negative. You absolutely must remember to put your negative numbers in brackets when you substitute them into formulas, otherwise your answers will be wrong most of the time. So I'm going to go ahead and type that into my calculator. When I do that, I'm going to get two solutions. When I round those to two decimal places, I'm going to get x equals 1.14 and x equals minus 2.64. And that's the answer to part B. The next question will be dealt with in the next video.